Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganata Prapta Sakalyana Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Prapta Sakalyana Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Mahaprabhu Gita Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Baju Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringaratanama Niramarjanado Yuktasya Bhaktamsya Niyunjatapi Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satana Truptan Paribhakta Sangha Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satana Truptan Kridaiva Trupte Bhajata Shadiva Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Shiradikama Gabayara Para Madhura Lila Gunarupanamna Shiradikama Para Madhura Lila Gunarupanamna Pratikshana Swa Dhanalalopasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Ne kunjayono Ratikeli Siddhai Jayali Virjukti Apekshaniya Nikunjayono Ratikeli Siddhai Jayali Virjukti Tatrati Daksha Atibalavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Sakshadharidena Shamastashrashri Ruktastatthava Vyataiva Sadhavi Sakshadhari Shamastashrashri Ruktastatthava Vyataiva Kintu Prabhoja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Gurashi Charana Rubrindam Priya Eva Tasya Vande Gurashi Yasya Prasada Bhagavar Prasada Yasya prasadam nagati kutapi Yasya prasadam Yasya prasadam nagati kutapi Jayam stubham tasya yasatri sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Vande Gurashi Dhyayam stubham tasya yasatri sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachattari Shatarine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadhara Shivasari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Gadadhara Shivasari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hariyaraye Namah Krishna Jadavaye Namah Jadavaye Madhavaya Kesavaye Namah Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Shri Radha, Nila Madhava Radha, Nila Madhava Radhe. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra. Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Premanande, Haribo, Jai Vishwapar Paramansa Prabhajaka Acharya Suttarasara Shishya Maharaj, Divan Gais, Abhacharvina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ji ki jai. Iskon Pratishtha Viviti Samstapakacharya Vaishnava Shramani Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada ji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patiti Udhar ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhattar Gunatu Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sat Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ji ki jai. Ananta Kut Vishnu Vrindi ki jai. Prem se Koho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrindi ki jai. Jai Param Dayal Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Jai Pramanama Sankirtane Ka Janaka Prema Purushottama Shri Sachinandana Shriman Gauranga Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaur Hari Mahavranavatar ki jai. Golokera Pramadhana Harinam Sankirtan Yaga ki jai. Yoga Dharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Brihad Nidanga Transcendental Book Distribution Seva ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinarada Kund Samakund Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Shri Braja Bhum Vrindavan Mathur Dham ki jai. Dear Lordship Shri Radha Nilamadhava ki jai. Shri Maya Purnapati Veka Chakra Dham ki jai. Paramakaruna Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Shri Purushottama Kitra Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Shri Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu Smati Subhadra Devi Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan ki jai. Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Kana Shingare Bhagavan ki jai. Jaganga Mai Jamuna Mai ki Tulsi Maharani Vrindi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Mati Radharani Ki Jai, Shamaveta Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai, Nitai Gaurari Pramanande. All glory to the somebody bodies. All glory to the somebody bodies. All glory to the somebody bodies. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Thank you for singing. Happy birthday. Shilundai Tulasivai Priyai Sava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradevi Satavadai Shilundai Tulasivai Priyai Sava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradevi Satavadai Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradevi Satavadai Vaishmati Tulasi Maharani Vrindadevi Ki you sing. Nobody else can sing. Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Bol Priyasi Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Priyasi Radha Krishna Seva Pao Ei Abhilashi Radha Krishna Seva Pao Ei Abhilashi Radha Krishna Seva Pao Ei Abhilashi Radha Krishna Seva Pao
Vrindavan Vasi. Vilas kunj diyo nayane hari bol sada yugal ruparasi. Dan daro sakiranu gata koro, sevadikara diye koro nij dasi. Jina Krishna dase koi ei jina mora hoy. Radha Govinda preme sada ye namase. Shri Radha Govinda preme sada ye namase. Shri Radha Govinda preme sada ye namase. Shri Radha Govinda preme sada ye Babani Brahmatyadikani Tani tani pranashante Pradakshina pade pade Yani kane sapapani Babani Brahmatyadikani Tani tani pranashante Pradakshina pade pade Kani kani sapapani Brahmatyadikani Babani Brahmatyadikani Tani tani pranashante Pradakshina pade pade Yani kani sapapani Brahmatyadikani Tani Vrinda Devi Jaya, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya श्रीमती वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की
Vishnu Bhakti Pade Devi Satabhataye Vrindai Tulasivai Priyaye Sarvasata Vishnu Bhakti Pade Devi Satabhataye Vrindaya Tulasivai Priyaye Sarvasata Vishnu Bhakti Pade Devi Satabhataye Ishmati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Oh Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Lord, I take shelter of you as wishes fulfilled. Bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire that you also give me residence, pleasure groves, Shri Vrindavan Dham. That's within my vision, I will always behold beautiful pastime of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of James as of Raj. Please give me the privilege of personal service and make me an ornament servant. He's very fallen and lowly servant Krishna praise. May I always sing the Lord Shri Radha and Govind Shri Mata Tulsi Maharani Vrindavi Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Ki Jai. Cheto Datmanamajanam Bhava Mahadabhagninivapanam Shri Akari Vachandrika Vitaranam Vidya Vadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pradiparam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnam Parampara Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Baudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Itadrushita Bhakripaya Bhagavan Mamapi Durdhaiva Mitrishamya Janina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadhanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Bhaja Garishakamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishari Bhavatar Bhakti Rajtuki Tvayi Oye Nandatanu Jakinkaram Patitamam Bisame Bhavam Buddho Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Stitaduli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nanam Galavarashudharaya Vadanam Gadagadharudaya Gira Pulakari Chitam Bapukada Tavanam Agrahane Bhavishyati Juga Itam Nimishena Chakusha Pravasha Itam Shunya Itam Jagata Sarvam Govinda Virahiname Asli Shava Padaratam Pinashtumam Adarshanam Marmahatam Karotuva Jatadathava Vidadhatudam Pato Matpranatastu Sahivana Para Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikrastakam Ki Jai Namo Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Pravete Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namni Guru Tveshe Namaha. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses your heart with the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays, the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus we have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself Lord on strong street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotion service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yes, some or other I have fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, or will my eyes will be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? Or will my voice choke up? And will the hairs of my body stand on the end of the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if sunders me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1, to blaspheme the devotees who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2, to consider names of demigods, the Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the Lord of Krishna. 3, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4, to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literatures and pursuits of Vedic version. 5, consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6, to give some interpretations on the holy name of the Lord. 7, to commit sinful activities in the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are often Vedas as spiritual activity. Karma Kanda. 9, to instruct the fearless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name, and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve your desired success. Krishna praying. Now, let us offer our most humble obeisances unto the Vaishnavas, devoted to the Lord. They are just like desired trees, they can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Jai Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavindiki Jai Gaur Premanandi.
Tasmai Shri Grave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Sapitam Swayam Sesa Sunyavadi Askatya Satarine Jai Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Dinamini Shiva Subhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhu Ujvala Premadya Shri Bandhuga Bhakti Da Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namoste Kurbani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Apasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Guru Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambhude Padambujayate Namaha Mo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Guru Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Guru Vir Bhava Pumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Sri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Bhacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guru Chuse Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Suratur Pangur Mama Manda Mater Gati Matsava Swapadam Buljo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vindaranya Kalpadrumadaha Shrimad Ratnagira Simhasanastito Shrimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Bihi Sevyamano Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Kasan Venuswanir Gopir Gopinatak Striyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai, Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai, Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha, and Adi Radhi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam, Chintamani Prakarasat Masukalpa Riksha, Laksha Vridesha Surabhira Vipaliantam, Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam, Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, Venam Kvananta Ravinda Dalayataksham, Parhavatam samasitam buddha sundarangam Kandarpa koti kamaniya visesa sobam Govindam adi purisham Tamaham bhajami alola chandra kalasadvanamaya vamsi Ratnam gadam pranay keli kalavilasam Shamam tribanga lalita niyata prakasam Govindam adi purisham Tamaham bhajami Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti Pasyanti panti kalyanti chiram jaganti Ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya Govindam adi purisham Tamaham bhajami Advaitam achyutam anadim ananta rupam Adyam purana purusham navyovanam cha Vedesa durlabam adurlabam atma bhakto Govindam adi purisham Tamaham bhajami Pantastu koti satavatsara sampragamyo Vayoratapi manaso munipungamanam Sopyasti yat prapadasimya vichintya tattve Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Ekopya sora chaitam jagadanda koti Yaschakti rasti jagadanda chayayadanta Andanta rasta paramanu chayanta rastam Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Yad bhava bhavita diya manajasta taiva Samprapya rupa mahima sanayana bhusa Suktarya meva nigama pratitaistuvanti Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Ananda chinmaya rasat pratibhavitavis Tabirya eva nijarupa tayakalabi Goloka eva nivisata kilatma bhuto Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena Santak sadeva hridayesa vilokayanti Yam shama sundaram achintya gunaswarupam Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Ramadi murti sukala niyamena tistan Nanavataram akarod bhuvanesa kintu Krishna swayam samabhavat paramam pumanyo Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti Kotishvasesu vasadadi vibhuti binam Tad brahma niskalam anantam ashesa bhutam Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Maya hiyasya jagadanda satani srute Trigunya tad vishaya veda vitaya manam Sattva vulambi parasattvam visuddha sattvam Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Ananda chinmaya rasat mataya manasu Ya praninam pratifulam sparatam upetya Leelaya tena bhuvanani jayaya jasram Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Goloka namni nijadamni tale chitasya Devi mahesu haridama sute sutesu Te te prabhava nichaya vihitasya yena Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Shasti stati palaya sada vasakti reka Chayeva yasya bhuvanani vivarti durga Ichanu rupam api yasya chachestatesa Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Shiram yata dadi vikara visesa yoga Sanjayate nahitata pritakasiretu Yasambutam apitata samapaitika Yad Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Dipachadeviti samtastarmabhipetya Dipayate virita hetu sadama dharma Yastadri geva hicha vishnu taya vibhati Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Yakarna narna vajale Bhajatisma yoga Nidram ananta jagaran Roma kupa adhara shaktim avalamya param swamurtim Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Yasyaika nisvasita kalamatavalambya Jivanti loma vilaja jagananda nata Vishnur mahansa yasya kalavishesu Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Basmanya tasma sakalesha nijesu teja Swiyam kiyat prakatayat apitadvadatra Brahmaya Jagadanda Vidana Karta Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Yat pada palava yugam vinidaya kumbha Dvande pranama samayesa ganadi raja Vignan vihantam alamasya jagatrayasya Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Agnir mahiga ganamambu maruddhisascha Kalastatatma manasiti jagatrayani Yasmad bhavanti vibhavanti visanti yamcha Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Yaschaksuresa savita sakala grahanam Raja sama samasta suramurtira sesateja yasya gaya brahmati sambrita kala chakro govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami dharmota papa nichaya srutayastapamsi brahmadi kita patagavate yasya jivaha yadata matra vibhava prakatapa bhava govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami yastrindra gopa matavindra mahosva karma bandhanu rupa phalabhajana matanoti karmani nirdahati kintu chabakti bhajam govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami yam krodha kama sahaja pranayati bitti vatsalya moha guru gaurava sevya bhavai sanchintya tasya sadrisim tanamapurete govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami shriyakanta kanta parama purusha kalpataravo druma bhumish chintamani ganama itoyam amritam kata ganam yam gamanam apivam sipriya saki chidanandam juti param apitad aswadya apicha sayata siradibhi sravati sarabhibhyascha sumahan nimesar dakyo vavrajati nahiyatra pisamaya vajay svita dvipam tamaham iha golakam itiyam vidantaste santakshati virachari katipaya ishvara parama krishna sachitananda vigraha and Adiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Ganaram Brahma Samhita Ki Jai Shri Guru Vastika prayers Ki Jai. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it. So the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisance unto Lotus Feet as such a spiritual master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities. Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments, the spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion with his mind, sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his bodies, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Feet, such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasada, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert at assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana. I offer my most humble obeisance unto the Lotus Feet as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Feet as such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Shri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lotus Feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vindam. Gaura Bhakta Vinda, Gaura Bhakta Vinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ki Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we are again going over the unique things or principles that Lord Chaitanya revealed that makes going back to Godhead very, very easy in Kali Yuga. Although Kali Yuga is very unaccommodating for making progress in spiritual life. There are so many obstacles, but yet the Lord has brought the holy name from the spiritual world and delivered it to all living entities, regardless of who they are, what they are, and not only just human beings, but all living entities. So, number one is that Hare Krishna Mahamantra puts us directly in touch with Krishna. Point number two is that suffering is unnecessary. Point number three is Bhakti Yoga and Srimad Bhagavatam can convince one to always chant Hare Krishna. And along with that is the following. This is point number 3. One second. I know, but there's some more to point number 3. Let me find it. Where did that go? It's interesting. I don't see it. Oh, I see right. I'm going to open the page. Oh. Oh yeah, okay. One can overcome all misconceptions and entanglement in the material world by Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Vyasadeva introduced Srimad Bhagavatam to relieve the conditioned souls, to free them from Maya. So that's point number 3. Okay, point number 4 is the holy name and the Lord are identical. And Krishna and the holy name are identical. One can understand this by the mercy of the spiritual master. Simply by chanting, one can be relieved from all material conditions, and especially if they avoid the 10 offenses. And point number 5, by transcendental knowledge, one is immediately free from the clutches of Maya and fully engages in the service of the Lord. And as a side note, without service to the Lord, one cannot be free from fruitive activities. When one chants the Mahamantra offenselessly, one becomes free of the material conception of life. Okay, so those are the first 5 points. And number 6 is, by rendering service, a devotee relates with Krishna in one of 5 relationships: Santa, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, or neutral, service, and friendship, parental, and conjugal. Okay, so then number 7, in Kali Yuga, chanting the Mahamantra is the essence of all Vedic hymns, and it's called Sarva Mantra Sara. And as a side note, there are 2 major obstacles to attaining real knowledge and real realization. Number 1, now people neglect the importance of parampara. And number 2, they argue they can understand that which is beyond their limited knowledge and perception through scientific observations and experiments, and thus ignore parampara. And on top of all that, the argumentative attitude is against the Vedic principles and will stop one from understanding the holy name of Krishna, which is as good as Krishna himself. So where did this come from? This is actually coming from the Greeks, who got it from deviants in India. And the Greek philosopher Euripides, he has a famous saying, question everything, learn something, answer nothing. And Einstein said, the important thing is not to stop questioning. So, this has filtered into modern education, where kids are taught to question everything. There are no sacred cows in this world, which means you can question anything. You can question the existence of God. You can question your own existence. You can question your own gender. You can question everything. So people who are taught to be like this become argumentative. And it's hard to even talk to people like that because they'll question everything. They do not accept the existence of anything absolute. And this is another major point of the materialistic people. They don't accept the existence of anything absolute. Why? Because their own science and research rejects anything absolute. This is explained. This is called the principle of relativity. The modern scientists think that everything is relative. Even Einstein, he came up with the theory of relativity, right? It's not exactly the same as the philosophical idea that everything is relative, but it's close. And there's an article in Forbes magazine, and this author, what's his name? This author's name is author's name. It says, ask Ethan, what does truth mean to a scientist? This is Ethan Siegel. Okay. And near the end of his article, he summarizes. He says, all of our currently held scientific truths, from the standard model of elementary particles to the Big Bang, to dark matter and dark energy, to cosmic inflation and beyond, are only provisional. That means they're temporary. They describe the universe extremely accurately, succeeding in regimes where all prior frameworks have failed. Yet, they all have limitations to how far we can take their implications before we arrive at a place where their predictions are no longer sensible or no longer describe reality. They are not absolute truths, but approximate provisional ones. There it is, right there. No experiment can ever prove that a scientific theory is true. We can only demonstrate that its validity either extends or fails to extend to whatever regime we test it in. In other words, whatever environment that we test it. It may be somewhat truthful. It may fail completely also. The failure of a theory is actually the ultimate scientific success. An opportunity to find an even better scientific truth to approximate reality. In other words, he's trying to make it sound as if it's a great thing that their theories fail, because it means that one can try and find a better theory. Right? In other words, all the theories they have are just theories. They're not actually absolute truth. The failure of a theory is actually the ultimate scientific success, an opportunity to find an even better scientific truth to approximate reality. It's being wrong in the best way imaginable. This is nonsense. Right. So we see that no theory of the scientists is absolute truth. or the truth. They're just approximations. And he's admitting it. I mean, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he repeats the thing over and over and gives many examples of it, like Newtonian physics has its limits. Then it had to be replaced by the theory of relativity by Einstein. But that also has its limits. See? So there's another author that says that any theory, anything that gets to be named a scientific theory simply has to have 51% of predictability. That means 49% of the time it's wrong, the theory, right? But it's considered a scientific theory if it's 51%, if you give 51% predictability. So, let's see. There's another man named Kuhn, and I missed that. Okay, so anyway, we see that scientists do not accept the existence of absolute truth because they've never been able to find it. And why? Because they don't accept parampara. So this is the problem of relativity when one rejects the existence of the absolute truth. On the other hand, now let's continue these points. We stopped at point number 6, all right? At point number 7. Now, okay, yeah.
Point number 7 is in Kaliga, Harinama is the essence of all the scriptures.
Yes, that's 4, 5, 6, 7. In Kali Yuga, chanting the Mahamantra is the essence of all Vedic hymns. Therefore, it's called Sarva Mantra Sara. And there's a little bit more. In the present age, the vibration of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the only process that is in a transcendental position beyond material contamination. Since the holy name can deliver a conditioned soul, it is explained to be Sarva Mantra Sara, the essence of all Vedic hymns. Okay. Number 8, the transcendental vibration of Harinam Sankirtan is imported from the spiritual world. Thus, although materialists who are addicted to experiments, knowledge, and the so-called scientific method cannot place their faith in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it is a fact that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra offenselessly, one can be freed from all subtle and gross material conditions. Number 8. Number 9. The spiritual world is called Vaikunta, which means without anxiety. In the material world, everything is full of anxiety, kunta, whereas in the spiritual world, Vaikunta, everything is free from anxiety. Therefore, those who are afflicted by a combination of anxieties cannot understand the Hare Krishna mantra, which is free from all anxiety. Okay, and number 10. A name that represents an object of this material world may be subjected to arguments and experimental knowledge. But in the absolute world, a name and its owner, the fame and the famous, are identical. And similarly, the qualities, pastimes, and everything else pertaining to the absolute are also absolute. And number 11 is proof, Vedic proof, that chanting Hare Krishna is the Yuga Dharma. You have proof from the Narada Pancharatra, from the Kali Santaranya Upanishad, from the Narayana Samiti, and from Srila Jiva Goswami Maharaj and his Sandarbhas. Okay. So we stopped at that point. Now there's more. These are the unique things that Lord Chaitanya presented that makes that makes Kali Yuga actually favorable to achieve liberation and easy to achieve it. Okay, so now we're on point number 12. That's, in other words, what the two purports, Adi Lila 1, 7, 73, and 74, explains the potency of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And then text number 76 gives the proof from Shastra. Okay, so now we come text number 77. Text number 77, 78, and 79 shows what happens if you offenselessly chant the holy name of the Lord. You attain transcendental symptoms of love of God, which to the uneducated would be commensurate with being crazy. But to someone who is educated, they can see that these are transcendental examples of ecstatic love for Krishna. So this put a doubt in Lord Chaitanya's mind, and whenever there's a doubt, one should address the spiritual master, ask a question from the spiritual master. And we explain the argumentative culture of modern, that's taught by modern education in questioning everything, is the wrong way to receive knowledge. But the right way is to ask with submissiveness a question from the speaker, and then listen very carefully to the answer from the bona fide speaker. That is the way to argue in the Vedic tradition, not by challenging and being, not humble, but challenging with an aggressive attitude. That is not the way to receive knowledge. Okay, so Lord Chaitanya says, I saw that I had become mad by chanting the holy name, and I immediately submitted this to the lotus feet of my spiritual master. So, Prabhupada says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as an ideal teacher above us, shows us how a disciple could deal with his spiritual master. How a disciple should deal with his spiritual master, should behave or should interact with his spiritual master. Whenever there is doubt regarding any point, the disciple should refer the matter to his spiritual master for clarification. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that while chanting and dancing, he had developed the kind of mad ecstasy that is possible only for a liberated soul. Yet, even in his liberated position, he referred everything to his spiritual master whenever there were doubts. Thus, in any condition, even when liberated, we should never think ourselves independent of the spiritual master, but must refer to him as soon as there is some doubt regarding our progressive spiritual life. So this is an extremely important point. But this was traditional in the Vedic tradition, so we're not going to put it down as point number 12. And then Lord Chaitanya says, my dear Lord, what kind of mantra have you given me? I have become mad simply by chanting this Maha Mantra. Okay, so now this is, to understand this statement, Prabhupada quotes one of the Siksastakam prayers, and it says, O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. So Prabhupada says, that's the quote of the verse, Yugaitam Nimesena, and he says, it is the aspiration of a devotee that while he chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, his eyes will fill with tears, his voice falters, and his heart throbs. These are good signs in chanting the holy name of the Lord. In ecstasy, one should feel the entire world to be vacant without the presence of Govinda. This is a sign of separation from Govinda. In material life, we are all separated from Govinda and are absorbed in material sense gratification. Therefore, when one comes to his senses on the spiritual platform, he becomes so eager to meet Govinda that without Govinda, the entire world becomes a vacant place. This is point number 12. That is, that Lord Chaitanya is demonstrating without any equivocation, without any doubt, what are the symptoms of a person who chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra offenselessly and attains gradually the level of bhava, where they're continually engaged in devotional service in all situations, and they're continually chanting Hare Krishna. And then they begin to feel these ecstatic emotions, and at that point there is revelation that takes place to the devotee. Okay, so the devotee begins to feel real separation from the Lord. And so let's say one of your parents die, and when you go back to India for the funeral, it becomes very emotional. And at some time, you might want to say a few words, and you say a few words, and then you start to cry, right? Because is that ecstasy? Not really, but it is an emotion that we feel due to what? Separation, right? Now, in Krishna consciousness, when we feel separation, we also cry, but it is not based on the bodily sense of love. The bodily sense of love is, oh, we had so many good times together, we did this, we did that, and we had a barbecue, and my father made really great fried chicken, or made barbecued chicken, blah, blah, blah. Those are pastimes, yes, but they're not Krishna conscious pastimes. So it's on the bodily level. But when it's on the spiritual level, Krishna is completely spiritual. We have also an eternal spirit soul. So on that level, when we begin to feel separation from Krishna, that is the sign of spiritual ecstasy. And in other words, right now, if you ask someone, do you feel separated or separation from God? They would say, no, I don't even believe in God. Why would I feel separation from him? Or another person would say, well, I believe in God, but I also like to play tennis, and sometimes I go to the casino also, and sometimes I do this, and sometimes I do that. So they don't really feel separation from God. But Lord Chaitanya is demonstrating what is real separation from Krishna. One feels, as it says here, therefore, when one comes to his senses in the spiritual platform, he becomes so eager to meet Govinda that without Govinda, the entire world becomes a vacant place. There it is. This is point 12. Because we don't know what it means to feel separation from God. We can talk about it theoretically, but to actually feel it is a different thing, because there would be symptoms. Just like when you go to the funeral because your mother or father died or your child dies, and you say a few words and you begin to cry, yeah, you're crying because you're not going to see this person again. I remember I did this one funeral, and at the end of the program, I let everyone know, now I'm going to close the casket, and then we're going to go to the crematorium. So I closed the casket, and then the mother of the boy that died, she opened it again. Right? She said, "No, I want to see him some more." She was there all the time, seeing him. Right? So I always tell people, now I'm going to close the casket, so they know this is it. And everyone said yes, And when I closed it, then the mother opened it again. Right? So, yeah, they're crying because they know they're not going to see their child anymore, the body. But that is not a symptom of transcendental ecstasy. So here, Lord Chaitanya is explaining what is actually the symptoms of transcendental ecstasy. And it's a very important thing that he introduced to the world. Okay, so that's point number 12. And then he continues to explain that, the symptoms that he's feeling. And then his guru explains, chanting the holy name in ecstasy causes me, this is Lord Chaitanya, causes me to dance, laugh, and cry. When my spiritual master heard all this, he smiled and then began to speak. So, what does he say? It is the nature, Ishwara Puri speaks, it is the nature of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra that anyone who chants it immediately develops his loving ecstasy for Krishna. Okay, so now he's explaining what is actually bhava. This would be point number 13. So in other words, there is Shraddha, point 1, in the process of developing Krishna consciousness. This is not, I'm just giving some background about at one point where we come to bhava. There's Shraddha, and there's association with devotees, and then there's initiation, and then there's getting rid of all bad habits and artha nivriti, and then there is nishta, strong faith. Shraddha is initial faith, nishta is strong faith, and then after strong faith, there's ruchi, there's real taste for chanting the holy name. So there's Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya or initiation, Anartha Nivriti, Nishta, Ruchi, Anashakta, real attachment to the whole process of Krishna consciousness and to Krishna. And then there's bhava, the incipient or the beginning of ecstasy and revelation. And then there's prema, it's absolute love for the Lord. So this bhava is the stage right before pure love of the Lord. Now remember that the devotee, the king Bharata, he fell down from the bhava stage. He fell down from. You can't fall down from the prema stage, but you can still fall down from the bhava stage. So, point number 13 would be the explanation of what is bhava, which means attitude of constantly serving Krishna and the beginning of revelation by Krishna to the devotee, and the feeling of ecstasy when one chants Hare Krishna. And then the symptoms are described, right? So it says, in this verse, it is explained that one who chants the Hare Krishna mantra develops bhava, ecstasy, which is the point at which revelation begins. It is the preliminary stage in developing one's original love for God. Lord Krishna mentions this bhava stage in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8. But this is amazing. So you want to learn Bhagavad Gita, you have to read, as I said, the scientific dialectical science, spiritualism by Prabhupada, but you also have to read Chaitanya Charitamrita, because it gives you what's called correspondences. Did we know that Bhagavad Gita 10.8 is actually an explanation of the stage of bhava? I didn't know that. But now I know it, right? Because we're reading it, and it says, it is the preliminary stage in developing one's original love for God. Lord Krishna mentions this bhava stage in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8. Aham sarvasya prabhava matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. That's the key words, all their hearts. That means it's the prime preoccupation of the devotee, 24 hours a day. And then Prabhupada writes, a neophyte disciple begins by hearing and chanting, associating with devotees, and practicing the regulative principles, and thus he vanquishes all of his unwanted bad habits. So that is Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, initiation, Anartha Nivritti, getting rid of all bad habits, right? In this way, he develops attachment for Krishna and cannot forget Krishna even for a moment. So that is now Nishta, very strong faith, and Anashakta is that attachment to the Lord. Bhava is the almost successful stage of spiritual life. So Anantavritti, Nishta, Ruchi, real taste for chanting, and then Anashakta is this powerful attachment, and then comes Bhava. Okay, so it says, in this way he develops attachment for Krishna and cannot forget Krishna even for a moment. Bhava is the almost successful stage of spiritual life. A sincere student orally receives the holy name from the spiritual master, and after being initiated, he follows the regulative principles given by the spiritual master. When the holy name is properly served in this way, automatically, the spiritual nature of the holy name spreads. In other words, the devotee becomes qualified in offenselessly chanting the holy name. So when it says, when the holy name is properly served, that's a very significant statement. When we chant the holy name, we're actually serving Krishna, who is non-different than the holy name, right? Because that was one of the points. Point number what, 5? 4 or 5? 4, right. So when we're chanting, we're actually serving Krishna. Why? Because Krishna likes to hear the devotee chanting his names. Chinvata swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantak stohi bhadrani vidunati suhit satam. So when the devotee is chanting the holy name very nicely, the Lord in the heart sees this, and now he takes special interest in that devotee and will help that devotee in every way make further spiritual progress. Okay, so we're actually serving the Lord when we're chanting the holy name. When the holy name is properly served in this way, automatically the spiritual nature of the holy name spreads. In other words, the devotee becomes qualified in offenselessly chanting the holy name. When one is completely fit to chant the holy name in this way, he is eligible to make disciples all over the world, and he actually becomes Jagat Guru. A Jagat Guru means guru of the whole world. Why? Because they can go anywhere and make devotees in every country of the world, because they're chanting the holy name purely. Right? Then the entire world, under his influence, begins to chant the holy names of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Thus, all the disciples of such a spiritual master increase in attachment for Krishna, and therefore he sometimes cries, sometimes laughs, sometimes dances, and sometimes chants. These symptoms are very prominently manifest in the body of a pure devotee. Sometimes when our students of the Hare Krishna movement chant and dance, even in India, people are astonished to see how these foreigners have learned to chant and dance in this ecstatic fashion. As explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, actually this is not due to practice, for without extra endeavor, these symptoms become manifest in anyone who sincerely chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So now, we went to that Arangetyam the other day, right? And in the brochure about the girl, Vibha, it says she's been studying Bharatanatyam since 4 years old. And now I think she's 15 or 16, right? So she's been studying 10 years so she could do her Arangetyam, right? What does Prabhupada say here? He says, when our students of Hare Krishna, Krishna consciousness movement chant and dance, even in India, people are astonished to see how these foreigners have learned to chant and dance in this ecstatic fashion. As explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, this is not due to practice. They haven't practiced 10 years to chant and dance. For without extra endeavor, these symptoms become manifest in anyone who sincerely chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. See, it's not a professional thing. It's not like, the swirling dervishes. They do performances of swirling and dancing to music, or the Bharatanatyam dancer that has to basically gain control of all, not only their senses, but of every muscle and joint in their body to be able to do all the movements and with their fingers and eyebrows and eyes and mouth and face and neck and the jawbone and the shoulders and the torso and the legs and the hips and this and that. They actually in that Arangetyam, they named all those things. I don't know, you were there? They named all those things, right? So they have to learn how to move all these things, according to the music and according to the singing and whatever, So if you want to be body conscious, become a Bharatanatyam dancer. You become conscious of every bone and muscle and ligament in the body, right? However, as devotees are not moving their body in certain ways due to practice. It's natural, right? Okay. So what time is it now? 7:11. That's a lucky number. Okay. Yeah. All right, we'll stop right there. So we went to, how many points did we make? 12 points, right? 13 points. Okay. So point 12 was Bhava, and point 13 was there's something else. Yeah. Symptoms, the symptoms of ecstasy. And point 13 is Bhava, right? Okay. Okay, are there any questions? These are all things that Lord Chaitanya demonstrated and introduced so that people can go back to Godhead easily in Kali Yuga. Go ahead.
So Maharaj, we discuss about the various stages of spiritual progress, right? So like Nishta, Shraddha, then Bhava, then Prema. So is it possible that like modes of material nature, like a person may have 3 modes of material nature of different combination, but even if it is mode of goodness, because we call it a mode of goodness because it's more prevalent or having that mode of goodness, but sometimes he probably in mode of ignorance or sometimes in mode of passion also at certain point of time, right?
Yeah.
So that way, is this possible that we can be at different stages at the same time? Like you could be in prema or bhava also, but
No,
since you are,
no.
is it a sequential or
Bhava
it's
is continual engagement in devotional service and experiencing actually ecstasy and also you can actually feel Krishna dancing on your tongue as you're chanting, and and you're having revelations given to you by Krishna. So you're not, right before you experience your bhava, you were drinking a cup of coffee, and then you had some bhava. No, it's not like that. You're completely immersed in bhava. You're completely immersed in Krishna consciousness. It's after anashakta, which is strong attachment. It's a very powerful attachment to Krishna. You can't live without him. And before that is ruchi, the taste for chanting always.
but can we get a glimpse of it? Like for example,
No, you can get a glimpse. Yes,
yeah.
You can get a glimpse of ecstasy, even if it's the first time you're chanting Hare Krishna. You come, just like we saw people that we don't know, right? Joined the Sankirtan party and they were dancing with us and chanting, and they felt happy.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So that's a glimpse of it.
Okay, yeah. Because otherwise it will be contradictory. Because here the next Prabhupada is mentioning that we can get this ecstasy by just chanting sincerely. So they didn't practice it. Practice means I'm doing it for 10 years and still I'm not getting this bhava.
Because it's inherent in the holy name. Holy name and Krishna are non-different. So if you chant it without meditating on some sense gratification, you just chant it, right? You'll feel some ecstasy, that's for sure. You get a taste of it. But for it to become a sustained ecstasy,
yeah.
it's not fluctuating. Well, 5 minutes ago I was in a mode of ignorance, and then I came to the mode. 2 minutes ago I was in passion, and then 1 minute ago I was in goodness, and then I chanted Hare Krishna. I was transcendental. No, it's not like that. You have prolonged practice of Krishna consciousness, and you definitely have attained a strong attachment. You can't let go of it. You've actually surpassed, by constant engagement in devotional service, you've surpassed the control of Maya. Mam chayovi bicharina bhakti yogina sevate sagunam samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So that is the 14th chapter, 26th verse. What does it say? It says, Mam chayovi bicharina. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman, transcendental level. So that is bhava stage, or 10-8 is bhava stage, where you're no longer subject to the modes of material nature. Okay? So what you're saying is, well, is it possible that I could be in a mode of ignorance, then a mode of passion, and then a mode of goodness, then I have some ecstasy also? And
No, I just gave the example of the be even if a mode of goodness, but at sometimes he reveal mode of passion. Maybe he got angry or something like, or ignorance. That
No, but this what's being described here, Baba. It's you're way past that. You've actually attained what this verse says, 14:26, that you have transcended the three modes of material nature. You're no longer affected by them. Okay? But it's still possible to fall down from that stage, as Maharaj Bharat fell down from that stage. Right? But when you attain prema, you cannot fall down.
So is that the same almost as the Brahman realization where they can also fall down? Bhava is also...
No, it's Bhava is definitely above the Mayavad. No, because Bhava means you're constantly engaged in devotional service. Mayavadis, they stop doing devotional service when they merge into the Brahman. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll stop right there. Yeah, any other question?
As you mentioned, Bharat Maharaj is fall down, right?
Who?
Bharat
Maharaj, yeah.
So, Bhava means, as you mentioned, the attitude of constantly loving. So,
Yes.
would that mean fall down means he has some lack of a real attachment?
No, he got an attachment. The story of Bharat.
Yeah.
He became attached to that little fawn. The fawn is a baby deer.
Yeah.
And it completely interrupted his whole spiritual practice. And he became like crazy for that fawn, for that little deer.
So, he has fall down to
And
again.
he thought about the deer at the moment of
Oh.
death.
He has fall down to Anusakta stage again.
What?
Anusakta. The real.
No, he fell down. He became a deer, became an animal. But
Oh,
because he had made so much spiritual progress, he was given the benefit of remembering his previous life. And therefore, even as a deer, he always associated with devotees, always tried to stay near them and hear their lectures, and also take some of the prasadam. Right? And then in the next life, he became Jad Bharat. Right? And so that's the story, right? That's in the Bhagavatam. So it is possible to fall down from bhava. It's not possible to fall down from prema. Love is the strongest force in the universe. Pure love. Okay, we'll stop right there. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So why are we spending so much time on this? Because this is the core, this is the essence of Krishna consciousness as explained by Lord Chaitanya. So we should understand this as best as we can and be able to explain it to others.
Shri Guru Charana.
Padma,
I think
it's on, it's on.
Shri Guru. Shri Guru. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma.
Sadma
Vandomo Isavadanama Te
Navami Savadana Mate
Jahara Prasadeva Eva Vatoriya Jai
Janara Prasade Bhai He Bhavatoriya Jai.
Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te.
Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoyte.
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Kya. Arana Kori Ho Mane Asha. Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati. Jai Prasad Pure Sarva Asha. चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु साय.
चक्षुदान दिला जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से.
दिव्य ज्ञान रीते प्रकाशितो. प्रेमा भक्ति जहा होते अविद्या विनाश जाते. वेद चार जहा चरितो. श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनारा बंधु. लोकेनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना. प्रभु कर दया देह मोरे पाद छाया. एवे चार शिष्य देवाना. श्री प्रभुपाद पतित पावना.
Prabhupada Patita Pavana.
Nama Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada.
Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine.
Shrimati Bhakti
Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva
Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva
Nittai Gaura Haribo 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 Nittai Gaura Haribo
Haribo Haribo Haribo Nitya Gaura Haribo Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajagachasta Tarasatara Shri Shishimari's Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanadi all glories to assembled ones, all glories to assembled ones, all glories to assembled ones, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guru, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. This is Tarani. The lotus of our spiritual master, the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great honor and reverence. By his grace, we can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus feet. Attachment to his lotus feet is perfection and fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy. Friend of the poor and Lord and master of devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. We took shelter in your little street. Srila Prabhupada, Patita Bhavana Ki Jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya. Nirvisesa